pretty much the same, except for this, yeah, the rest of the language is pretty much the same. But just to put the onus onto the selectmen where it belongs, that you should be, you set the guideline for the budget, and the fiscal policy should then follow that.
I'm just wondering, should we put this on an agenda to have a
I asked that
substantive
it be
discussion?
put on an agenda, so I just wanted to explain the, you know, what we were talking about, and I did ask that it be put on the agenda to see if you want to amend the policy. I mean,
Yeah, we
you know,
can,
in a similar fashion.
Yeah.
But I think that's just language that isn't consistent with the Town Manager Act, okay? The second one is number 4. Now this is a little broader, that right now it says the town, the goal of the town is to achieve and maintain a balance and stabilization fund of 5% of its operating. And granted, that's probably up to interpretation, but previously it had been interpreted as a finite, we got 5%, we're done, okay? And what I'm recommending is that we open that up to say a minimum of 5%. And the reason for that is that our goal, overarching goal, is to achieve AAA bond rating status. And we've got a major capital project coming up in the next couple of years. And to get to that, you know, all of the experts, let's just say all the knowledgeable people I know that know bond rating parameters, talk about having to have 15% available stabilization funds to really be in the qualification for AAA. So,
Is it, I was always under the understanding it was 50, up to 15%
yeah,
of unrestricted funds.
right.
It was not defined as stabilization per se.
That's
But it was unrestricted, it could include stabilization and then other stabilization funds.
yes, yeah, I'm talking about all stabilization
Across the
funds.
funds.
Yeah, the one thing it couldn't include is the OPEB trust fund, which
Right.
is not usable for anything else.
Well, actually, to be a little clearer, as I understand it, it should be, you know, free cash and the general
Right.
stabilization. But
Unrestricted.
capital is not unrestricted, capital can only be spent on capital, so that's not that's not a general reserve in the same sense.
Right.
I mean, it's most certainly more fungible than OPEB.
Right.
Or sewer enterprise or water enterprise, but,
So what I'm putting to the board is to consider opening up the general stabilization fund to be a receptacle for more than a finite 5%, to allow it to go, you know, when we have the funds, to put it in there as an unrestricted fund that supports the goal of achieving a AAA status, which will benefit the town in many ways, and certainly in the short run with capital projects that appear to be coming up. You know,
Sounds good.
even if they don't come up, we should probably continue to set the table to be able to get to the AAA, okay? Yes,
I'm just kind of going back to the
Mhm.
general conversation, which is, I mean, is this something we should be doing, you know, in the next month, or
I would,
wait till town meeting?
I
or-
would recommend that it be done before town meeting.
Okay.
Before town meeting,
Yeah.
I mean, I've been,
I-
by the way,
I
I've been
have a problem with it,
looking,
I'm just
and I've been
asking.
looking at them anyway. I mean, again, it's not, it's one of those things you get to, is you read and you look, and I've had some thoughts about it too.
Yeah,
and I
it's
just, it hasn't been.
absolutely a living document.
It just, yeah, right, all policies really are living
Mhm.
documents, and I just haven't, it hasn't been, with everything else I've been doing, it hasn't been
Right.
the
Yeah.
highest thing on my list at this point. So.
Yeah, the overall objective of the financial policies is to provide for a stable financial footing.
Right.
One of the goals underneath that is to obtain a AAA rating, which brings with it its own benefits. And it is worthwhile, I believe, to hear from, in our case, S&P directly, because that's who we use as our ratings basis. And I do believe that one of the things we'll find in their criteria is that there is a good deal of flexibility, although there are guidelines put forward. And that flexibility has been to our benefit for the recent upgrades. One of among the big items that they were very, very clear on was making certain that we had stabilization covered, that is to say that we were adding to it on a regular basis and maintaining some minimum balance, that we were making the appropriate moves for our, if you will, unfunded depreciation. And then finally, and probably biggest in their mind, was that we had a clear and coherent plan for dealing with OPEB and any other off-balance sheet liabilities. So I just want to make sure that we don't go tossing authorities around blindly. S&P was very distinct in the two conversations I had on behalf of the town with them, where I was a participant in it, and that they were looking forward to our continued efforts, but they weren't locked into specific numbers. They were locked in instead to trends. And I want to make certain that that's something that's understood broadly by the entire board, because as it turns out, we are the policymakers. We take under advisement these recommendations, but we're the policymakers. So it's not something we should enter loosely.
Yep.
Yeah, to that end, I've been also thinking about the financial management policies. I had a very brief conversation with Chris about it. I too think, I like your phrase that it's a living document, but, you know, all policies should be reviewed, and we now have a permanent professional town manager. We have a treasurer who by all accounts is working very hard on our financial policies, and a financial director. And before the board, as a policy board, goes forward discussing it, I would like to hear from our financial team as to what their recommendations are, and that certainly they, as our financial team, would be talking with Standard & Poor's and so forth, and could get
Agreed.
back to us. Because I think that these are things that should be looked at regularly as things change.
I agree.
So this is a menu.
So-
This is a menu item.
yeah.
This is a
Menu.
future
A
Did you
menu
eat
item
tonight?
in the future.
supersize it, right?
Yeah.
We're getting,
A future
Agenda item.
agenda item.
I mean,
Yeah, I'm just-
I think it's a
I'm just
meeting
trying to
agenda
point
item.
out-
Weeks maybe, yeah.
Well, I
I'm just
think
trying
if
to
we-
point out some inconsistencies in
I
the
do,
original policy.
I do think
Although
that
it
if we
served us
have,
well.
if we have things that are inconsistent with the Town Managers Acts, then it might behoove us to address those sooner rather than later, and then as a bigger picture, to look at the financial policy as a policy.
Item number 5, debt service is an operating cost item. I don't know why it's included in a stabilization fund. I'm happy to, leave the capital stabilization, all of that. I would think we would want to codify that it's indexed to 2007 for the roll-off part, but, that's just things that I think should be cleaned up in the policy. And number 8 would, as it stands right now, would preclude ever changing the 2.5% maximum levy, because we'll never be paid up on the OPEB unfunded
Unfunded
liability.
mandates, yeah, unfunded liabilities.
So, I mean, I don't see the point of that. It's up to the board to determine if they want to go to the maximum every year or do something else. I don't know that we need to, I don't think we need something like this that precludes any discretion by the board at all on its own volition. So again, I hope you take this in the spirit. Again, it was a topic that the advisory discussed last night. And I do think it's important, if we're going to have funding put into the general stabilization in the 15 budget, then certainly I think this 5% maximum should be made a minimum, so that we have that flexibility, we don't get into a floor fight at town
The
meeting.
good
That's
news-
why,
the
that's
good-
why I think it should be done before town
Yeah,
meeting.
go ahead.
Peter, I wasn't in attendance last night. Was this something that the committee voted?
No, yes, well, they're all in agreement that, you know, the things we did, everybody was in agreement with these points.
Well, I mean, if it's a recommendation by the committee, was
It
it?
is a
vote of the
recommendation by
committee?
the committee, I'm the chair and I speak for the committee.
Was it a vote of the committee?
It was not.
Okay, thank you.
It was a good discussion, though, I was there.
It's very
Yeah.
good
Yep.
discussion,
I think
excellent.
all this is, it's great for periodic review to, look at
Yeah,
where we're at.
And I'm not, you know,
move forward.
I gave you my suggestions, I just wanted to get the conversation started. Relative to that, I think there's a couple of problems, you know, not major.
Cleanups.
Having the fiscal policy has served us well. I just think it can be tuned up a bit, and Chris and I have talked about this as well, all the points we just discussed, that we discussed previously.
And also, Mr. Shemelat had some good questions.
Yep.
He discussed at length, back and forth, so, with you and everybody else. It was very good. I took copious notes.
Yeah, okay, that's all I have.
I just wanna say one thing, which is, the good news is, you know, it was just 2 years ago that we felt like we needed to codify the words, "It shall be the goal of the town to achieve and maintain a balance in the stabilization fund of 5% of its operating budget." Now, you're
That was the
saying,
goal.
that shouldn't be the goal, that should be the floor, not the ceiling,
Yes,
and,
absolutely.
so, you know, I think that's the good news.
Yeah, that's from my perspective.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any other public comment? Okay, we're gonna move to licenses and events. There's a, Hubbard Fun Run on July 19th.
Hello, hello.
Hi, how we doing?
Nice to see you again. We're back every other year like we promised.
It's good, we can count on it.
My name is Ed Baldry. I represent Cohasset Maritime Institute, and I'm a member of the board and oversee the Hubbard Memorial Fun Run. And we are just back before you once again, asking for your permission for approximately an hour of the good town's time and space to put on a family-oriented fun run. We averaged about 125 people, and you know, very typically we're in and out of there in an hour.
That's great.
And just for my own mind, Tracy, the adolescent triathlon is the 12th of July? Yes. So it's not just, okay.
Yeah, we made sure we're not competing with that.
Competing,
And again, a little bit more of a low-key, non-timed, you know, bring your red wagon.
It's pretty
You know.
early in the morning too, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, we're looking this year to change that slightly
Yep,
to 10 a.m.
Much
with
better.
with your permission.
I'm usually rolling out of bed by then.
But we're pretty flexible, whatever works for the town. We just want to be easy in and out.
Tracy, just a question. The police have not signed off on this?
They have signed off right here. They came in after.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you won't, here, do you wanna, and actually, you might wanna take a look at that. It just came in,
Is that Lieutenant Quigley?
yeah, just saying that, I think it was two
Officers from
on
8 AM
bikes or
to
something.
noon, 4-hour minimum, on bicycle to assist with parking
He
Correct.
said
and
he was gonna
traffic
contact you,
issues.
if he
Correct.
hasn't already.
Yeah, that has been the standard MO. So
And how many years have you done this now?
this is the fourth time
Fourth.
in 8 years.
Oh, right.
So we do it every other year.
What other time did you do it, other time?
We've started at 8 in the morning. We've started at 9 in the morning. So it's been, you know, a little loose. It kind of depends on whatever else is going on with the town at the time. If there, you know, pressing needs to get us out of there earlier, then we accommodate.
Well, the people that live there might, that's all.
I'll move the Hubbard Fun Run for July 19th, 2014.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any
I-
discussion?
I don't recall hearing any, but have there been any issues with the
My knowledge,
neighbors?
I mean, there
or-
Certainly
wasn't
not to our
last-
knowledge.
Yeah, and they didn't have it last year, so.
Mm.
Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thanks, Ed.
Thank you very much,
Thank
appreciate
you.
your time.
That could be a solution to some of our crowding issues, huh, every other year.
Every other
Yeah.
Okay, MS Walk is not quite ready, so we're gonna hold off on that. Pre-prom red carpet on May 30th.
So move?
Second.
I just have one
Discussion first.
question. I know that this has been done for a lot of years, but the electrical outlets, has that ever been
They just literally plug in like a microphone in the front of the old town hall,
Oh,
the,
okay.
the lobby area,
I was
just so
just
they can do the
curious as-
microphone
yeah.
announcing the
They
kids.
just need power.
They just want power, so they include it in here.
I know it's been done for years and it's a great, event for the kids.
Yeah, ranks right up there with the top 3 favorite Cohasset, community events in my
There's
mind.
nothing quite like me lighting my cigar up there.
You did that?
Oh, yeah.
I just sit there and weep.
As a high
Okay,
school kid, you lit your cigar?
yeah, well, 17 and a half, the world is a,
Your
world is
oyster.
an oyster, yeah.
Was the liquor down to 18 when you were there? Cause I know
No,
it was for
it
Ingrid.
was
That was a
21.
terrible year.
Okay, do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, 5-0, thank you. St. Anthony's, one-day liquor license for St. Patty's.
These are all my favorite events.
This is a holy day of obligation.
Yeah.
You got that right.
Okay,
What's the date?
March
March
22nd.
17th. It's a holy day of
I
obligation.
understand
No, I
that, but
think
they
it is
don't
a
always
different
have the
day. It's
events
the
on one of
22nd.
This
those.
is the 22nd, so you don't have to.
So this becomes a holy week.
Holy, cool, you better believe it.
It always has been, hasn't it?
Absolutely. I'll move it for March 22nd, a one-day liquor license for St. Anthony's.
Second.
any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, 5-0.
Exactly what I figured.
Yeah,
Tracy was nice enough to provide me with a list of the events and.
Yeah.
Okay, she has it for everybody. I'd like to ask you at some future date, we might discuss the events, and towards setting a policy to determine perhaps the number, the size, how many events can be held, within the same area, have the same route, because we see here, we have like the 28th and the 29th with Renew, but it'd be nice if we didn't have 2 major events in the same area on the same weekend. And
Are
I
these
think,
just weekend events?
So those are just anything that's been approved so far
Far
for
this
this year.
year.
You know
Okay.
that there's other stuff that's gonna
Right.
be coming up, but that's what we've received
Right.
so far.
Right.
so we've got May 30th, June, well, the art festival doesn't really count. June 28th, June 29th, July 12th, July 19th, and then nothing until October 4th. But
okay. All
and
right,
I'd be interested in finding out, I know other
Yep.
towns have applications, but if there are any policies that other towns set in regard to,
There was a
Events?
committee, maybe a year and a half ago,
Not
that
really.
looked at this, and there are some policies from other towns that I have, so whenever,
excellent.
if we could, maybe in a month or so,
Yeah,
do
what-
it, I can bring together, I can try
Oh, that'd be
to
great,
find all
yeah.
my notes and all the, and Jen was on the committee, so she has it, she'll probably have it too, but it's, there, we did look at other towns and how they handle it, the application that we now use was taken from another town, with all the sign-offs, so I think we have a lot of research that we can apply to another conversation.
Would 4 weeks from tonight work on the agenda?
The only thing I would say is just, we're gonna be heavy into warrant
Yeah,
article
yeah,
stuff by then, so, but,
I just wanted to bring it
Whatever.
up to get it on the list of items, I just thought this was the
Yeah.
appropriate time to ask for it. And obviously, warrant articles budget will take priority over everything. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yep. Next item is we have a appointment in the Cohasset Historical Commission discussion.
That's Jackie Dormitzer.
Yeah. And
Well-
she's active in also the 400-year
The John Smith.
John Smith, and that, the date is September 13th. And I was at the meeting, you were skiing, so, and we had a lively group of people there, probably 15.
I got the call the next morning
and-
with the updates. It's great.
Yeah, well, I have 2 letters that we were given tasks. And we're sending a letter to our elected officials because we want them to come and speak, just to reserve the date. They don't have the program, but there was a myriad of suggestions, and if we did them all, it would not only take that day, but maybe a week.
A month of events,
Yeah,
nothing in
but
September.
it was good that people are enthusiastic. That's my report of that. So Jackie is certainly, she's done all the books and she's had historical interest for years, so I think she'd be excellent on the historical commission, and I'm wondering why she never was.
Before,
Yeah,
might have been.
yeah.
Was she on the board of the society, or?
No,
Maybe.
she wrote books, she was on, I think she was on, the 70, I was in Norway then.
I've got Bigelow's History in Cohasset, the first
Yeah, big,
history,
I've got all
and
3.
then Bert Pratt's
First.
history,
And then she did-
Jackie's done
Yeah, but she's
several
done
books.
2,
Yeah.
several books, yeah.
So I think it makes
Yeah.
sense.
My daughter was here reading them last night,
Yeah.
up here while I was at advisory.
Yeah.
They're great.
So,
So-
move to appoint Jackie Dormitzer to the Historical
Yeah.
Commission.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 5-0. Okay, Registrar of Voters, this is a reappointment. As you know, that there's actually 4 registrars, one is the town clerk. Depending on the party of the town clerk, it has to be balanced between the 2 parties, so therefore there's 2 Republican registrars and 1 Democratic and the town clerk that balances out. This is a Republican registrar that's up for reappointment.
My only thing is just, we usually do all the reappointments at the same time, and I don't know if there's any policy or reason to,
I believe that she's the only one that's up at the moment. I think they have a rotating term of office, and when
but she's
Carol.
in through June.
No, it says
This
it
past June.
expired in
It was
June.
an
It
oversight.
expired. It was
Yeah,
a-
yeah, yeah.
It was an oversight, that's
Okay,
why.
This
I
one got
take back
missed.
what I just
That's
said, thank you.
why.
Alright,
Mhm.
Okay,
So-
so, this is important business that,
Priority.
you know,
Yeah, we
when we
really
do
have to
Got it.
have that.
elections.
okay.
We have a motion,
So
So
moved.
moved. Second.
any discussion, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed,
I
5-0.
hope it probably didn't jeopardize any elections because we had several others.
Yeah, we needed just a tickler file to stay in better
Yeah,
talk
okay,
on this.
okay.
Okay. Selectman comment. Which end wants to start?
He can start.
Him?
What's
his name?
Thank you.
What's his name? I actually, blessedly, I was not here this past week. I have no new comments. I'll pass the floor back to her.
Okay, well, I talked about the 400-year, also, and also, we got a notice that we have a hearing March 12th on the, 2 articles from the planning board. One is the, marijuana bylaw, and also the hearing on the red line inn. So that's something to consider. And I want to remind everybody, there's a Friday, 8 to 10 a.m. at Weymouth MMA for the MMA breakfast. And also,
You need to sign up for that too.
yeah,
if
well,
you can
it's
get the email,
difficult
yeah.
to sign. I tried to sign up, I finally called them.
Yeah.
It didn't work. And also, I want to remind you that on April 14th, It's Environmental Day, and they're honoring Rachel Carson, who wrote The Sea Around Us.
She was in Duxbury, right?
Well, I don't know, I have the original book with,
There's some connection to Duxbury, and that started the
yeah,
environmental.
well, I
movement,
don't, yeah, I don't remember that at the time, but I bought it, I remember in the fifties, early fifties, so.
Very
Silent
sizable,
Spring.
Hmm?
Silent Spring, yeah.
very
Well,
sizable reserve.
yeah,
day
well,
there.
Sea Around Us, yeah,
Yes.
the Silent Spring, but,
Oh, you know.
so that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Oh, well, no, wait a minute, I was at the,
Time's up.
the ad hoc police, and we had a discussion on, the South Shore problem with heroin and drugs. And I don't know whether the South Shore is, I know the Globe is running front page things, and I don't know whether there should be a consortium of the South Shore to make a statement or whatever. I think it's very important.
It's
I know the
becoming
state
an
is very,
epidemic, yeah.
well, 60 overdoses a ton, and all over the country. Of course, they caught this big guy in Mexico, but somebody else steps up, so that doesn't, as long as.
Maybe Chris could talk to the other surrounding
the
town
other
managers,
committees.
administrators, and see if there's something we can coordinate on a
Coordinate.
statement or
Yeah,
get some information on
Yeah.
what's going on in the region and
Mhm.
be sure that we're participating with our police
Yeah.
department and
Mhm.
everything.
okay,
Thank you.
that's it.
To that point, I have had several comments from citizens who are concerned about the heroin issue in Cohasset. And I was going to also ask perhaps if we might have an update, either from Chris or from, the acting police chief to, address the issue and, hopefully to be able to put to rest concerns that citizens have in regard to what our police department is doing, to address this issue. It's not just in Cohasset, it's an issue in all communities, and I don't mean to imply that, but I think that people are aware of it, they're concerned about it, they're concerned about their children, and, that's something that we could look at. We received in our packet the budget from the South Shore Regional Voc Ed School, and I just am a huge proponent of Voc Ed itself, but of our Voc Ed in particular, and Ken Thayer, who is our Cohasset representative, is also the vice chairman there, and in conversations I've had with him in past years, I've really been floored by the classes, just the variety, the caliber of the classes that are offered, and some of the jobs, the employment opportunities that these kids graduating have. They actually graduate from a school and get a job, a good paying job. So I think that this is an under evaluated resource that we do have, and should be, it's not our purview, it's the school committee's purview, but it is something that we participate in, is available to all children, students in Cohasset.
Just Chris, just FYI, I don't know if anybody told you, the front board out in the front door where we post meetings, that was built by some of the VOTEC students.
And-
Carol,
And
Yeah.
also this table,
This table as well?
the $900.
But not these chairs, they probably would have.
I
done a
don't
better
wanna,
job.
I wasn't gonna mention that at all. I've been there on, years ago, they had a night for people from down and sea, and they really have terrific, shop materials, and a lot of those students actually go on to four-year colleges. So it isn't a dead end, as some people think, which it
Well,
isn't, it
I-
isn't.
Not at all.
Not at
My
all.
brother Bill went there, and it was a great experience for him, and I know it's a great experience for most of the people that go there.
Mhm.
And they also have a need from time to time for cars to do auto body work on and stuff like that, so there's a lot of stuff that gives back to the community. The good news is it's down $41,000, our assessment this year. It's a 32% change down from 126,000 to 84,000.
Well, that's because of less students, I think.
How is that allocated? Is it based upon the numbers that we send?
Number of students.
I don't know how, I think it's a little complicated formula, I don't think it has
That's
something
part
to
of
do
it,
with
that's
students,
part of
but
it,
there's
that's
other
part
parts
of
of it, yeah.
Yeah, that's part of it.
And it can go up or down any year, but typically it's going up, so the good news is it went down, and we thank Kent there for working on there as our
Mhm.
representative and keeping us informed of what's going on. Thank you.
They've also, done a lot of other things, I don't know whether the same Votech in Hingham, they built those little signs that they have for town meeting.
No.
That's done by Votech, they
Oh.
may be in another district, I don't know if they're in the same district.
Okay.
And they've done other things here, we've had tables, small tables, we've used Votech for a lot of things, they do a lot.
We should look into chairs.
Yes, chairs, yeah.
Yeah.
Cause well, I wonder, they might
I mean,
have, they might have like
access-
textile classes.
Yeah, they might have access
Yeah.
to some good suppliers or
I
something, who
think
knows?
it's absolutely
I actually do
worthwhile.
not dislike these chairs, they're fine.
They're
with me,
yours.
but-
I'm getting
You
ready
can
to
have
swap mine out for one of these.
Okay, really?
Yeah.
I have low standards.
Okay, Diane?
I do have a couple of things. Some of us were just at the Friends of Elder Affairs annual meeting, and it was fabulous. It was, there were about 40 people there. They met at the Art Center, and it was just kind of a getting up to speed, giving people information about what the Friends of the Elder Affairs is. It's an independent fundraising arm that raises money to do programs for the elders in town, and it was just very active and exciting to be there with everybody. And Coral made some remarks just about how their mission and everything that they do at Elder Affairs, which is the town department, is to connect, involve, and engage the elder residents. And elder, the whole definition is much broader too. So anyway, it was just very exciting, and there's a lot of great things that happen, and they're always looking for volunteers in the community, whether it's to bake for their Monday morning cafes that will resume with the good weather, or just get involved in helping them do transportation programs, et cetera. It's just a great organization, and it's another one of those really special Cohasset community groups that keep moving things along, moving the ball forward. I am participating in the MMA's Municipal and Regional Policy Group, and there's a meeting next week that I'm going to where they're gonna be discussing the state's medical marijuana situation. And they're having the executive director of the state's medical marijuana program, whatever that means. I don't think that's the official title, but that's how it was presented in the information. So it'll be interesting just to see, because I just, the whole thing kinda sends chills up my spine. And just having come from Colorado, the really interesting thing is they finally just legalized it. They went from the medical marijuana, legalized it, and the tax revenue is through the roof. So I think that's probably gonna be the next step for Massachusetts. But that's just what I think.
Imagine what that'll do to our drivers.
Well, it might actually calm them down.
That's a thought.
Great. And then on a more somber note, I would just like to request a moment of silence for Bob Ernst, who passed away this weekend. Bob, I don't even know I could go on forever, but I'll never forget he called me at work, not knowing it was me on the other end, to order 2 tickets to come to the symphony. And he said, "This is Bob Ernst." And I said, "Hi, Bob, it's Diane Kennedy." Diane Kennedy. And then I was on the phone with him for 2 hours. So he is a special, special man, and he will be missed. And my heart goes out to Mary and Bob and their wonderful family. And like I said, he'll be very missed. He's a dear.
Well, Anna played bridge with him in the senior center for years.
Yeah.
But I'd forgotten to say, I'm going to an MMA policy board on the Public Works this Thursday morning.
Great.
I shall bring back information. I used to be on that years ago when I was on the MMA board and other things.
I want to have a moment of silence for Bob.
just one more thing about
Yeah.
Bob, he kept us on our toes. I
He
mean, he
did,
would
yeah.
write
Yeah.
letters all the
Yeah.
time,
Yeah.
and, you know, that's what we need, is engaged
Yeah.
people, so
Yeah.
he'll be missed.
Okay. Second bite at the apple, Steve?
Oh my, no, seriously,
Okay.
I can't add anything to the conversation. So, why would you feed the monkey?
I'm on a environmental subcommittee in the MMA, and they had a meeting last week, and interestingly, they're discussing the issue of the bottle bill, whether it's gonna be re-upped or not. And it was interesting discussion. I just wanna bring it to the board that one of the arguments of getting rid of it is it's creating too many waste streams, and they wanna try to combine waste streams and more efficiently. So I don't know where that's gonna go, but it's the first time I heard any argument that against the bottle bill because I like the bottle bill, I think it keeps
Yeah.
things clean. But they did have some interesting statistics, and it's still being debated out both ways, but there's legislation up the State House and it's in play, so we'll probably be hearing more about it, which way it's going, and so just keep an eye out for that.
What about having the water bottles? That would really, because they're all over the place.
Well, they were
Like
talking about
they
that,
have
you
that in
know,
other states.
the inequities of what is and isn't covered under it, and how much is money is not making it back, or it's being some states that have a higher return bottles are ending up there. So there's a bunch of stuff going on, and a lot of these smaller stores their issue is they're using a lot of floor space to return all this stuff, and it's costing them money for that. So it's a complicated issue. I think it was, I think it's been a great thing up to now, but maybe it does deserve a look at to see if there's a more efficient way to accomplish for the environment.
Yeah.
Because they were talking about how expensive it is to just ship this stuff in
There should
big
be-
trucks to,
Well, there should
you
be
know.
depot centers that are easy.
Well, we need hopefully some young people with some creative ideas on how we can create a new system.
I think so.
Just
yeah.
as an FYI, while this is interesting and useful to us, would you mind terribly passing that along to the Boy Scout troop, just to make them aware of it? It's not a small issue in this town.
Right, right.
If that were to go away, that's a fundraising element for them
It's
that would be
true.
A huge
gone.
one.
Well, that's one of the big issues. I mean, that is a component of the politics of this, that there are.
I'm sure.
But interesting, one of the selectmen from Needham, that is a friend of mine, is actually proposing some of this stuff. Said that what they do at their landfill is they alternate month by month, different charities that get the bottle stuff, but most of the charities now are saying no glass, period. They don't want it, and so the glass is just getting thrown out.
Really?
So the recyclable glass is getting thrown out because the charities don't wanna handle it. And so that's just what's going on in Needham. So, but that's a good point. I know in Cohasset, it's the Boy Scouts that are,
Even
handling it for us.
even if it were rotated on a regular basis amongst charities, if the collection fee were to go away because you shifted to a single stream collection system, it would impact whoever was benefiting from it, and I guess that's really the point.
yeah. Well, I think the debate is should they up it, from 5 to 10 or whatever, or look at an alternative, and so that's what's in play.
I've been to other communities who use single stream recycling, and it really is fascinating. Everything goes into one bucket,
Yeah,
and whoever processes it does the sorting.
and go ahead.
That's how my town did it, actually.
Yeah.
In fact, we used to have people go along and go through the recycle bucket sometimes to pull.
But did people still, this is freaking me out, because I think it's so, I go other places where people don't recycle their bottles and cans and they throw them in the trash, and
No, we had a
You know,
very high recycle rate
that's-
on that.
Yeah.
so the
Yeah, it's very
recycle
high,
rate doesn't change.
But also we had curbside pickups, it was a very different model
Yeah.
here, so.
Interesting.
Yeah, in Longmeadow, they have separate bins, cause they have pickups. One is the recyclables, and the other is the, trash, and it's every other week we get the recyclables.
you imagine if we had curbside pickup, no one would ever get their petition signed.
Oh, my social life would go away.
Okay, that's,
Mr.
yeah,
Chairman, yeah, I
yeah.
have one more thing that I forgot, and Mary just looking at her reminded me that, just something for maybe a future agenda item. I had been contacted a few months ago by somebody from Holly Hill Farm about, the organic chemicals or what we use
Oh,
for
right,
fertilizer on the
That was an
common.
email today.
So, and to Mary's credit, the minute I got in touch with Mary directly, the answers came.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I was trying to stream it through other directions, but, obviously, there could be some costs. I don't know if it's even a policy discussion or whether it just belongs at the DPW, but there would be a cost to use organic, fertilizer, but, I believe Andy's assessment is it wouldn't necessarily keep the common in the kind of, with the kind of grass that we want. It wouldn't get rid of the grubs or anything. So it's probably something that really needs a more holistic conversation. I don't know if it belongs here or there, or
Karen,
with
Okay,
Karen.
well, the Open Space Committee previously, explored all of this, and, traditionally with, organic lawn care, the initial upfront costs can be higher, but then after
Right.
a few years, the costs go down. I can assure you from my personal, experience that it will take care of the grubs. And I have had, lawn, what do you call them? My brain is, I have a cold again. Lawn people, the guys that come and do lawns, come onto my lawn and ask me what I use.
Yeah.
And when I tell them it's organic, they
Yeah.
tell me it can't possibly be organic, that I couldn't have that lawn organically. So, I can tell you from my personal experience, I do far less on my lawn than I had done before. So I think it's certainly worth exploring. I know we had looked into, when the Beechwood Ballpark was redone, we had Chip Osborne come down from Marblehead, and he put together an organic program for us that fit within the budget that we had to take care of that, for various reasons that just, I think, never happened or never continued. Excuse me, but there was, at one point, quite an effort being made by the Open Space Committee to, look at organic care for both the common areas in the town and especially for the athletic fields.
Yeah, well, what Mary wrote was that I think for a year, the cost differential is $1,700, which to me sounds like nothing. But,
Well,
it just has to be a conversation.
Given their budget, it could be
Well,
considerable.
But it seems very small to make
Well, I
a
think
positive step, if it truly
if it
will
were
accomplish what we
something
need.
that we wanted to do as a town, then I think that we would have to make the necessary adjustments to accommodate that. We couldn't possibly ask departments to do more for the same amount.
No way.
right.
So the question is, where should we take this
Well,
conversation,
I think
if
the
anywhere?
the original letter, for those that aren't quite sure where the discussion started, was that, young kids are playing in the grass in the common, and so there's a concern about the chemicals being used, so, and I think it's worth looking into and discussing further.
Oh,
Yeah, just-
just want to remind you that we have a Saturday meeting this week.
Yes,
And I had one time, and I don't know exactly, I had 10 to 1, but I hear it's 12 to 3, I don't know which it is.
12:30?
Training, Saturday, right?
Oh.
1 to 3?
It's 12.
12?
12.
12 to what, 3?
Is it this
Okay.
Saturday? Thank you, Mark.
Well, if you can't make it, you can't make it.
Right.
It's,
Yeah, okay. And that's at the
Well, I
Deer
think
Hill
when we set the
School.
date up, everybody,
Everybody could.
oh,
Yeah, I get 12 to 3 at Deer Hill, right?
School.
Tracy, do we have sound?
Right now? Yeah, earlier we did.
We
Oh,
should
okay.
probably post that, just because there's a good chance there'll be
Yeah,
a quorum.
he apparently would like, the person who's giving
Well,
would like to have it posted.
that was a question. There is an exemption for training programs.
Yes, yep,
Now, you can't have substantive conversations with each other. You can ask the instructor questions.
I would be on the safe
All right,
side.
it's up to you.
Yeah.
All right, that's
That way there's no
fine.
challenges.
There are,
right?
there are a few drive-by people in town that,
Yeah, they keep track.
I was having dinner with my husband once and I got called out for having dinner with the Conservation Commissioner. I don't know what to tell you, that's how it rolls.
Well, I
all
didn't,
right.
Did you have anything else, Martha?
no,
Okay.
I've had enough, I think.
Okay, I think we're all set. Selectmen's correspondence.
Anything,
I think we kind of,
I think we went through a lot of them.
The only other thing is, I did draft a letter, while I was away, and forgot about it until about an hour before the meeting tonight, so I
Oh.
apologize, but this is just to thank, and this is not final. This is just to thank the firefighters, the mutual aid
Oh, yeah.
responders to the fire in the antique store. So it's a pretty short letter. I don't know if we all wanna sign it, or we just wanna authorize Fred to sign it as chairman.
I think we all should sign it.
And Bob Sylvia will give us a listing of the actual towns that came, and my recommendation would be to send it to the Board of Selectmen
Yeah,
in each of those towns, and copy the fire chief in each of those
Yeah.
towns, and then have us all sign it.
sounds good.
Hmm.
Will we
So,
get the rest of that information together and
Yeah.
get it prepared for another meeting?
we can get
Yeah.
ready,
Would
and
it
we can
be-
even sign it.
would it be more to send it to the fire chiefs and then CC the Board of Selectmen?
Well, I think we wanna thank the towns
Yeah,
and,
the
and
towns, the
CC
town.
the
The
fire
fire,
chief,
okay.
yeah.
From the board, I
From the
think it makes sense. from the
Selectmen to
board.
selectmen thanking the whole town, yes.
Alright.
Yeah, this
Yeah,
is,
yeah.
Yeah,
So I will clean up, Steve's pointing out some grammatical errors. I'll clean it up, we'll get the addresses correct, but assuming nobody has any major issues with the general
Mhm.
concept of the letter, we'll go with it.
sounds good, thank you.
yeah.
Anyone else? I have something that just came in today, and just want to talk about it briefly, and then get copies to the board for another meeting, but you remember last winter, there was a terrible storm, and up in Beechwood on Doan Street, they were cut
Mhm,
off
tree.
from the community for a while, and we were finally able to get a crane in to pull some trees out of the road there, but, you know, in the meantime, had there been a fire down there, we would have been running a lot of hose a
Mhm.
long distance to fight it, which costs time and other has, you know, it's a very dangerous situation, so, anyway, there's a row of very tall pine trees that were planted years ago that are kind of overgrown too close to the road now and it continued with this danger. So anyway, we have a petition. I'll give this to Chris to make copies, and there's some photos from last year, and you can just put it in the packet for the next meeting, and we can discuss that. But in the meantime, maybe, Chris, you could get an estimate from Tree and Park, or how they could handle that, or what it might cost. at
The neighbor
DPW.
brought in a copy for everybody.
Oh, they did?
Yep,
Oh,
Chris
everybody's
has a
got
copy as
copies,
well,
okay.
yeah.
But we don't have the pictures.
You're the only one
Yeah,
that
just
has
make
it.
copy of the pictures
Yeah.
then.
No, they don't have
And,
the pictures.
Thank you.
And this, it really was town trees that cut off an entire neighborhood for a long, 24 hours at least.
Well, the people had to climb over the tree to get out because they also had no power and there were elderly people and it was really quite a dangerous situation.
And I believe one of the emergency vehicles was a
Well,
small fire truck.
The
was
only good
on the
news
other
was
side
there
of
were a
it.
snowplow truck stuck on the other side who
Yep.
spent the whole time clearing the road.
Everybody's driveway, because he couldn't get out.
The driveways were all plowed and the street was plowed until he could get out of there, but,
Yeah.
okay. Here's the picture that everyone can see. Town manager update.
Okay. I will, I'll do OPEB next, cause that's officially on the calendar as OPEB update. I want to update you on a couple of IT items. Had a former colleague, I think a couple of you got a chance to meet, who came in 2 weeks ago and spent 3 days with us here taking a look at the town webpage, the back end of the potential new webpage, looking at our communication strategy. I was hoping to bring him on for a little bit longer than that, but he was offered a full-time job while he was here in another place. So I lost him, but he did help identify a plan and start us going. So we had a kickoff yesterday with Rob and Tom, who's done work on the library webpage, and I think his name is Tom, and Ian, who's a staffer in-house, and we now have a team together, and work on the Newtown webpage has officially begun. So
Great.
so we're working on that. GIS, I know you all have seen, hopefully you got a chance to play with the Muni Mapper, courtesy of the state of Massachusetts. Today, we had our staff kick off on the town staff working group meeting for the Cohasset GIS piece, our own in-house piece, and we had a very productive meeting today, and that's moving forward, so I want to let you know that. On HR, I actually had a meeting today with a person I'm planning to bring on to facilitate our efforts here. She spent 17 years at Boston University. I knew her as a student, but she was there in an administrative role for a number of years, and she now has a business on this consulting business that does placements in HR and all. So we met today. She's very excited, and I'm planning to. We have money in the budget for this. So I'm looking to bring her on to work on policies first, then job descriptions. Then we'll talk about the general evaluation process, which I think will be helpful. And she was very excited. She met some staff today. She's going to start next week again to come in. The only thing I discovered is we don't have template contracts for people, so I have to make one of those up. So we'll work on that. But again, she's very excited, and from the staff that interacted with, they're excited. So again, those are in progress.
Template contracts to
the
execute
template
a contract
with her. Yeah. So
Gotta ask.
yeah, details.
It's been done before.
So that's ongoing. I want to let you know that those have started.
That didn't have to be posted, or?
It's not a
Contract.
It's a
just
professional
a
services.
contract.
Yeah.
Okay. Just making sure.
Professional services, okay.
Will that cover the school side as well?
At this point, I'm starting on the town side first. Some of these policies the big policies will cover everybody, FMLA and those kinds of things. So I do plan on sharing those. The job descriptions will probably be based on the town side first, but I think the schools will benefit greatly from that, and we're gonna have ongoing conversations with them.
So a couple months ago, we were given a 3-ring binder that's about this thick.
Yes.
So that's kind of her
Lisa now has that. That's her
working
starting point.
piece.
Oh, good, okay,
Yes. So
Thank
it's going to immediate use. Yes.
Right.
So you're
Yes.
building off of that.
good.
Yes.
So
Well,
I
yeah,
shouldn't recycle it quite yet.
No. There's no. We already have a foundation, and I want to build up the foundation.
Great.
So,
Thank you.
Can you just go back for a second?
Yeah.
With regard to the plan put forward for the webpage, any indication on a timeline as to when we should start to visually see results?
Well, I have an optimistic hope.
Okay.
I don't want to overpromise. We have a 60-day clock we're working with, and everyone seems to think that that's reasonable.
Okay.
Now, it may not have every bell and whistle at the beginning, but that's our goal.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
By the new fiscal year for sure.
Yes, absolutely by the new fiscal year. And again, a lot of the back end's already built. I mean, it's not that it's not there. It's a lot of content that has to be fueled. So Ian was trained by Rob. So he kicked off yesterday, and Ian met with Rob today right here and was trained on how to do the data input.
Oh, good.
So it's actually very simple. I mean, but he has to now work with the departments to make sure the right content is up and work with it. Each department's got a little different feel for what they want to post. Some will have more live data. Some will have more static. And so he's going to be making the rounds. So I moved him up on an interim basis to full-time hours. So he's excited about that, and he's very eager. So I told him I won't abuse him too much. So
Okay.
but he's very excited. So and again, Rob is excited. So I mean, again, we had a nice meeting. I told you at the last meeting, and this is all bearing fruit now. So I'm pleased.
Sure.
That's working. So. On the budget process, I want to update you that the obviously ongoing on the town side of this equation. I've been meeting with departments. In fact, police and fire will be tomorrow. So I'm meeting with them over there, and also going to meet with the facilities folks. I'll be with Mark later in the week, I think Thursday, and we've ground through a number of the other departments. So, it's coming along nicely. And then the budget planning is Thursday, and I've been working with Mary and Paula and just going through the general big picture stuff. It's all coming along. And again, I recognize I kind of came into the process that was already ongoing, so but I'm there, and we're moving at it, so.
Last week, and it got picked up in the Mariner, of course, I used the term weeds, so I just wanna clarify, I don't really wanna get in the weeds, I know that's not my position, but what I would love at some point, once things flesh out, is just sort of a department overview. The staffing is staying the same, they're looking to do this, next department, that kind of, for me, that's weeds.
I've been looking at some other budget presentations. In fact, I'm meeting with two of my colleagues, neighboring colleagues, in the next 7 days, and they've offered to share whatever they can to link me up. I know Excel and I know PowerPoint and all that, but I don't have time to make really pretty stuff.
Right.
Content-filled stuff, but so. They're going to share some things with me that I think will help. And I've looked at some really excellent presentations from other communities. And again, I can't promise I'm going to get there immediately, but I believe the narrative piece I think is very important because it tells the story and also helps explain. It's like having a little executive summary as part of it.
That's right.
So I am working on that
too. Thank you.
And again, it helps me, by the way, to understand. I literally was going through line by line. I'm like. Well, the line was like, I was hitting $300 lines. Well, I'm like, look, I'm not trying to bug you about it. I just want to understand what it is.
Right.
And, that's just
well,
the way
you need
the
to do that, but we don't.
Right. But again, somebody's going to ask, and I want to be able to understand, or at least know who knows the answers, so I can answer. That you're not going to know every line all the time ever, but you want to get that. So I'm getting there. And again, people have been great about having that conversation. And again. The one of the themes, and I've talked to a number of people about this, is just I don't want to call it the Cohasset conversation, but but I think people want to talk, and I think that's really important, and I think that's started, and I've been really incredibly impressed by the people who give so much of their time and energy. And people want to give that time and energy in a productive way. Again, people may not always going to agree, and that's completely okay. But they want to have a active exchange of ideas where they talk to each other, not at them.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm really seeing and feeling that. And I think my goal is to continue to help facilitate those conversations. I think that's one of the things that you want me to do and that I want to be able to do. There's going to be disagreements, but the energy people spend on battling with each other would be so much better spent on having the conversation. And again, you may still disagree at the end of the day, and that's completely, that's America,
that's
right?
Gonna happen.
It's democracy.
Yep.
But you really want to have the room, clear the space to have that conversation, and it's already started. I mean, I think all of you are doing that. I've been incredibly impressed by the folks I've been able to work with over the last 6 weeks or 8 weeks. I guess time is flying. And I'm hopeful to continue that. Again, I've been meeting with folks one-on-one, two-on-one, going to committees, and in fact, I'm going to the Community Preservation Council meeting on Monday. It's one I haven't been to yet. Planning is tomorrow. So they had all the snow delays.
Right.
So I'm making the rounds of those two. So again, because I'm excited about continuing to have this conversation with other folks too. And it's the Cohasset is a whole big giant tapestry, right? And I think everyone brings a different piece. And the budget is partially a collection of all those pieces to put into practice the goals and objectives. And I guess another thing that I think all of you want to do, and I think we'll do that as we hit. I think I would love to be able to do a goal setting for FY 2015 and say, okay, here, what are the priorities? Where are we going? And I'd like to be able to do that for 2016 in 2015.
Right.
I'd like to start because the short, mid, and long-term goals, and what's the roadmap to get to those goals? I mean, you've already set some of them, and for example, the AAA credit rating. Well, that's a goal. Well, what are the objective pieces of that? Well, there's reserves. There's policies. There's the ongoing development of OPEB and showing that, because when you have the rating agency call, you want to say, well, last time we were here and now we're here and here's where we're going, and that says, hey, you've got a team together, you're moving in the right direction. And again, I think all the foundation again, as I've said before, the foundation that I've been able to walk into is great, and I'm very grateful for all the work that was done to get to this point. And but again, the foundation being laid is just one piece of the building, and there's a lot of ongoing work to do. You know, the community's not static, and policies get reviewed. And, I mean, the mere fact, by the way, that you get to the policy you point out is the key. Then you keep evaluating and moving. Otherwise, it becomes dusty
Tweaking.
documents sitting on a shelf, right?
We got plenty of them.
Yeah.
No more room on the shelf.
So again, I think that's important. And again, I think you've all said that you want to do those kinds of things. And I think it's important that we continue to schedule meetings like we did earlier this month to have those kind of conversations. And I'm going to remind you that Senator Helen and Representative Bradley are set for next meeting. Okay, so be prepared.
Be on your best behavior.
To
Get the questions.
Yes, exactly. And just I know I can bring up these when we talk about next meetings, but I have now a list of at least 7 topics for future meetings. So, well, we'll pick those up, I guess, when we talk about the future meeting dates. Is that
Yep.
all right? So let me go back on. So that's a highlight. I mean, I could talk about a lot more. You know, I've met a lot of folks and been out there, but you know, that's the highlights. OPEB. One of the pieces of the path here, right? When we last spoke, the OPEB committee, which has done a fabulous job, had laid out, okay, here we are, and you charged with going back and continuing the work. So we have, and I want to tell you that a lot of research began right on when the town joined the GIC to begin with. And I have to tell you, it wasn't easy, and I thank Tracy, and I thank Jen, and I thank Carol and her team and Beth downstairs for digging through records. And we found in March 1st, 1972, the Board of Selectmen voted to participate in the GIC.
1972.
1972. It didn't go into effect, I think, until the following year, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
But that's how far back it went. And it was a deed of the Selectmen, so we actually have the records. And by the way, one day I would love to be able to have someone just type it into a computer and pop it right out. But we're not there. There was a lot of dusty drawers that had to be dug through for that. But fortunately, they were there. So, and the original cost share, just to be absolutely clear, was 50-50. That's how the town entered the GIC. 50-50. Okay, so
It's interesting, because I would love to see what the structure of the plan was at that time. My guess is it was probably a major medical.
probably something. I mean, you know, in '72 things were a little bit different, and again, I'm sure we could pull some of that work out, but that's what it was. I mean, so again, we're actually coming full circle, right? We're coming back after 40 years, 42 years.
We were out in the swing set.
Yeah, so we're going from that '70s show to the 21st century here. So, and I want you to understand that I've been talking to our outside counsel and also to the folks in Hingham who've already done some of this work as to what's the process for the move. But that's not the first path. After we last met, I had folks from Maya come in and we had a nice conversation, and I got up to speed on our general coverages, health, property casualty, and workers' comp, and discovered that the town retirees are the first people we need to move. And let me explain. The town retirees really fall into two pools, something called Manage Blue for Seniors and Medex 3. Those are the logo, the plan names. Manage Blue for Seniors is an HMO plan in the state of Massachusetts. Medex 3 is a indemnity plan you can use anywhere in the country. So if you move out of state, you're going to have Medex 3. If you stay in Massachusetts, most people have Manage Blue. To move from those plans, so Manage Blue for Seniors to Manage Blue for Seniors with PDP, which is a Medicare D drug coverage plan, and to move from Medex 3 to Medex 2 with PDP, which again, a Medicare D eligible, Medicare D drug plan, from what Maya explained, has the potential to save our individual retirees in the town substantial money. And just to put this in context, the premium savings alone for a retiree would be over $1,000. Just premiums.
Wait, forgive me. Moving from Medex 3 to Medex 2 saves the participant the money.
Participant and the town. The town is paying less in premium, the senior's paying less in premium.
Wow.
Remember, we're splitting 50, the town retirees are already at 50-50.
Right.
Okay, so, and again, I don't want to put words in the folks from Maya's mouths, but the vast majority, not every single person's gonna say it, but the vast majority of people will say it. Substantial money. And the drug coverage is functionally the same. It's a different provider, and there are some exceptions where there might be someone who has an obscure combination of things that might be in a little different situation. But apparently Maya's moved 2/3 of their municipalities from Managed Blue to Managed Blue with PVP and from MedX2 to MedX2. Savings. Now, you don't have to take my word for it. If you'd like, we can bring in the Maya folks to have this conversation. Because the next step would be to have the conversation, and then bring the seniors in to have the conversation, educate them, and then move them.
Could they give us an estimate based upon our census?
You mean going forward, or
No.
I did. Oh, they did. I have some numbers, but they're giving me some updated numbers on the actual savings.
Okay.
Yes, and again, I'm not giving you the exact numbers simply because they're looking to give me an update. And again, we don't have a ton of. I mean, there are real savings here. Okay, there's 5-digit savings here, and then accumulate over time. And this is just the town seniors. Now,
Town retirees.
I'm sorry. Sorry. Town retirees. It's I hate to use these win-win-win things, right? Except that it seems to be that, and so if you'd like, we'll schedule them at a future meeting. You'll talk, you'll ask questions, and then we'll go on to the next steps. We do that piece. We show it works, then we can have that next conversation. We have that victory, and again, we're genuinely saving people money all the way around, and giving people the same care they had before. And it's all good. And then we can start talking about the GI. Well, I'm gonna still be working on the GIC piece, and we'll talk more about that. But that's the next. That's teeing up in the indexer.
Right.
More complicated in many ways. At the same time, we're looking at the town active plans too, just so you know that. But that's we don't have those numbers yet. We'll get them in a week or two, and then we'll have a better idea of where we are this year, and then we'll go from there on to. If there's a tweak or two to be made. I mean, again, there's been a lot of good active management of that plan, so we've got a lot of good work has already been done on this. I don't know, I don't think there's any low-hanging fruit right now. So we'll see where that goes. But again, these are real savings that we can do right away and help all around. So that's that part of it. Also, there's a new investment plan for OPEB that's been in process. I think you've all heard about that a bit. Paul's been actively working on that, and we're going to. The plan is for her to put the money into one of 2 pools. And again, I think she sent you some of the information that you would request to see if anybody wants to learn more about the plans. There's everything. One involves the existing pension system, and one involves another private company that does this work anyway. So she's vetting both of them. And again, either one will get us a much higher rate of return on the OPEB trust, in a safe way.
Would she be able to come in and just give us
Absolutely.
a dumbed down version?
Right. Well, this is a part of that path. Right? Every one of these steps helps build a
Chip
way.
away a little bit.
Exactly. Right? Because this is again, this is a marathon. If anything's a marathon, this is a marathon. But these are really concrete steps that will save us right up front, and again, and long term. So it's all good. So, and again, as part of this, I had a meeting with the OPEB committee last week to brief them on all this, and they've offered their assistance and help in all this. And I plan to tap them, believe me.
Absolutely.
So,
really should.
So that's the OPEB piece update. So, anyways,
Sounds good.
When you met with Maya, one of the questions that had arisen last time was the nature. What was the cost driver on the property casualty? I guess I should say property liability.
We spent a lot of time on the medical side, and I've been working. I've been following up on that question.
Fair enough.
But I don't have that. So,
Okay. In your ongoing conversations, would you please
Yes.
bring that forward with them, or get them to focus on that piece of it?
Is that a big number?
It's not a big number. It's the trend. It's gone from about $200,000 to $258,000, if I remember, but it's over a relatively short period of
So
time.
there has been an increase.
That's real money, yeah. Okay.
Now, again, one of the things I did learn is that we are rated on our own. we're in a big group, but we
We're
got our
cool.
own rating. Now, there's a cap, there's an upper maximum cap, so there's a shared risk in the pool, but we still have the ability to swing within that. You know, everyone is
Right.
not treated the same.
Right.
So.
Why do you think have that special? I mean, you say we can swing in that, but the rest can't.
Well, no, the way it works is that we're all pool, like as an insurance trust, we're all in a pool, but you still, so everyone's not rated as one big giant group. You're in a group, but you're also rated individually. So if Cohasset has an excellent, you know, very low usage rate, I guess is one way of putting it, or low, then
Experience, right?
Yeah,
there you go.
Is that the word?
Those fancy, yes, that's what I was looking for, I couldn't spit out of my head, sorry. But thank you. If we have a better experience history, then our rates will be lower. But if we have a higher one, there's still a cap. You know, and
Yeah.
if we were independently insured, we would go higher. And that risk and the reward is shared to some extent among the pool. And same thing with medical. So. And again, we were told that on the medical side, we did have some hits this year, so we might be a little bit higher on the end, so we haven't seen that yet. I started to get some updates, by the way, on some of the larger active matters, which we will have to talk about at some future point in executive session, so.
sounds good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anything else?
No, I just have potentially agenda items, but we'll talk
Okay,
about
yeah,
those in a few
okay.
bits.
So we'll just do the minutes and then we'll be doing the agenda. Minutes for February 4th.
I have an addition. On
What page?
page 2,
Yep.
paragraph in Selectman correspondence. Remember we was shown the picture of the lobster tree,
Yep,
and we decided it'd be very nice to have it as the front page of the town report. Remember that discussion?
yep.
Well, I'd like to add that to the
Okay.
minutes.
Tracy, under Selectman correspondence, it's a very minor thing, but the letter itself went out without changes.
The one that you did?
Did you say that?
It's minor, but
Yeah.
I mean, if you wanna put them in it post facto, that's good.
No.
No. Yeah,
So delete that sentence.
yes.
Yeah, okay. Any other changes? Did we have a motion
So moved.
and second? Any further discussion? All those in-
Yes,
Yeah.
I gotta recognize, Evan, this is such a change to be able to see meeting minutes 2 weeks after the meeting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Congratulations,
Thank you.
Tracy.
Thank you
Yeah.
very much.
When it's,
That's
we
it.
still remember what actually happened. My
and we still have all
whole
the board
first year on the
members.
board, remember, yeah, exactly.
But I have a loan note. What about all the executives that you gave to town
I
council?
talked to Chris about that.
Okay,
Um,
months ago.
You must be a mind reader or something. I brought that up this morning at breakfast with
No,
him.
I just thought
We're
of
gonna
it.
start putting them in buckets and tackling it, but,
Okay,
it's on the agenda with Chris.
I just had
Thank
to,
you.
I'm sorry, I didn't.
That's all right. Any further discussion on this? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 5-0. Okay, next, Board of Selectmen.
It says 2:12, but they weren't in the packet.
Yeah, I told
Right.
Fred earlier.
Yeah.
I finished
Oh, yeah,
them
yeah.
after
We're
the
gonna, it's
packet
gonna
went
come
out.
up at another meeting.
Okay.
Yeah.
We have the next one.
Next meetings are scheduled for March 4th, March 18th, 25th, April 1st, April 15th, tax day, April 22nd, and May 6th. So we have a bunch of agenda items. Chris, you wanted, anything you need input from us on?
Well, here
or-
are some things that
Yeah.
we had either discussed or I'll bring up to you. Jen checked with the Norfolk County retirement folks on the town's behalf. They are happy to come and have a conversation about how it all works, what they, how they handle it, and why the rates are going up. I'm happy to put them on a future agenda, so we can pick a date now and go. I may need to give more than a week's notice, but
Yeah.
So do you wanna say tentatively the March 18th or 25th meeting, depending on which one I can get them on?
Yeah, that works.
Does that work?
Sure.
Yeah, first available, whatever works for them.
You put them on first thing in the
Yeah,
agenda,
yeah,
right?
so they can get in and out, yeah.
Right, just come in, give us a 20 minutes. and-
Same thing on retiree medical, I think I would like to do that fairly soon, so maybe I'll do the same, either the
Yep.
18th or the 25th. Only because I don't know if I can get them in so quickly.
Thematically, it might be worthwhile to have them on the same night.
Okay, I'll work on that. All right. The financial team on financial policies, which was brought up tonight, I can do that as early as, well, we could potentially do that next week, or maybe do it
Why don't
after
you take
that.
2 weeks to get it organized, yes.
So,
Oh, sorry.
okay.
Go for
And,
Tracy.
and, maybe the 18th or 25th then. I don't wanna overload a meeting either, but, unless we, I mean, one thing we had just talked about doing was having that middle week, that second week being a strategic conversation meeting with no action per se, just getting reports and discussions. So do you wanna do another meeting during the month? Now, again, remember, I'm away.
Right.
So end of the end of the first week, but the second week is fine, so does that work for anyone that week? I think you said, Martha, you might be
The
unavailable.
12th is hearings for, planning board for the warrant.
So is the 13th that week, which is I think the Thursday, is that okay for anybody?
Check everybody have their calendar.
No, 13th, I'm
Okay,
No. It's tough sometimes to get other meetings because we plugged everything in.
is it, are Mondays bad days?
No, Mondays are, okay.
It's all right.
Is
Oh,
March
yeah.
10th a possibility? No, actually, that's not actually, I'm sorry, that's not good for me. Never mind. You can do without me if you want.
No.
Okay, so that week is not looking good. Okay.
Why don't we think about it?
We can do it, I mean, we can always do I don't know if you wanna do a second meeting in a week, just to have a strategic conversation, but we could if you wanted to.
Well, I'm just checking some dates.
I don't know.
What's the, again, what was the date?
I have the 20th
Monday.
open if that works. It's the week after.
The 20th?
Thursday?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what we'd do on that day then would be, we'd have the financial team on financial policies, we discussed those.
March 20th, is
Yeah.
that the extra meeting?
That'd be the extra
Yeah.
meeting.
Okay.
And what are we gonna do now?
We'd have the financial team in to talk about financial policies.
Financial
Again, no, the board wouldn't take any formal action that night.
Right.
Okay.
And then we'd also have continued budget conversations then.
Mhm.
Is that
Right,
fair?
cause we'll be,
And budget.
advisors will have gone through some articles already and.
And again, if you need to
just general
add a
conversation.
piece of it to approve it, or review a few things, we could do that.
Right,
It would be primarily for
But they, the
strategic.
advisory board has a meeting that night. They're doing
Yeah.
things on the 20th.
Mhm.
4th, is it a Wednesday?
Thursday, it's a
Thursday.
Thursday, yeah, we're meeting every Thursday.
But I mean,
But it's,
yeah,
you know, I mean,
we're
that's-
gonna have to double up, it's just this time of year how,
Yeah.
this is what happens.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I'm about to launch, get large groups of people, different,
Yeah.
the enterprise
Yeah.
funds,
Yeah.
the capital,
Okay.
the
Excuse me.
schools, get that all organized, so.
Right, so we'll tentatively do the budget with the financial policy on the 20th of March. I have, this policies on public events, races, triathlons, that you wanna have a public conversation about that at any point?
That's, I don't think that's something we have to,
Just, I mean,
We
we
could
should
do
discuss-
that in
in April, maybe?
April, yeah.
Yeah.
Once we get the warrant
yeah.
put to bed,
And
we
that's,
can do
that's
that.
sort of
Yeah.
just a,
Okay, so
Yeah, when
maybe,
we're at town meeting time, let's focus
Yeah.
on that and the financial and
okay.
get that.
The
Guys,
update
Give
on-
yourself time for the reviews.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we'll-
Yeah.
I'll hold that for a future, to be determined.
Right.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mm.
Obviously, strategic goals and objectives, I think that's a future, that's a post-town meeting
Yeah,
conversation, so that's a May thing, that's right.
mm,
And then update on this, the drug issues, did you wanna have more of a conversation about that in March, or?
This is relatively new with regard to noticeability in town, but it is not new to the South Shore.
No.
And as a result, I think it's worthwhile that as elected representatives of the town, we make ourselves as educated as we can with regard to what the police see as as the contributing factors to it, and what what we might be able to do about it as a community.
Well, that might also be involved getting a, a hold of the county DA's office as well, right? We might be able to talk about this with the sheriff's department, because again, they're looking at it from a broad, I mean, again, I know our police department work with them all the time anyway, so that would take a little bit to set up and have that kind of.
Yeah.
It might, from the perspective of simply giving a broad overview to the board, however, that could be an initial conversation leading to maybe a more complete one
With,
at a later date.
with just the acting chief and
That's
the
fine.
detective or
Sure.
something, just to give us.
Yep.
You probably heard there was a huge cocaine bust here. Was it cocaine? Yeah, like a year and a half ago in October,
Yeah,
October 2012.
Well, I can try to estimate that for, I think the chief's away next week, I have to double check that. So if we can't do the 4th, we can do again the 18th or the 25th?
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah, so that, when is it, the 18th or
Well, the
Depends on
25th,
scheduling, yeah.
yeah, I'll update you next meeting, where we're gonna be on
Yeah,
those.
okay.
Okay, those are the biggies that I had, is there
And
anything else?
also just check in with the schools on that issue, see if there's anything that we
Oh,
can
right,
help
right,
with or they need
Right,
from us.
Right. Does anyone have any other topic like that you wanna prep in advance for the agenda? Okay.
I've just been trying to carve out some time to sit down and clear my head to think of some suggestions, because Fred had asked us to come up with some ideas.
Well, there'll be plenty of meetings.
There will be.
Well, there's, way back, this history of a drug and alcohol policy committee that worked for years here. Way back in the 80s.
Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, I made a note to myself and overlooked it. Tracy, on the list that you had given us, the May 10th Carriage House Family Fun Day, that's the election day.
Oh,
So I don't know if, not being familiar with the event.
yeah, it's a
I'm
new,
not-
well, it's a new event.
Okay.
It's the first time. It's like a family fun day.
Yeah,
Yeah, they just brought it in
I don't know
this
whether they were
week.
planning to use the common or,
I believe so, yeah.
so that, I don't,
Okay, well,
That may not work.
they
I
had
don't know
a,
if that's a big conflict, is it?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not,
Yeah, there is
Yeah.
a conflict, should
There's a
people-
lot of activity.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
around
they-
with cars and stuff.
they had
Yeah.
2 dates. They were willing to do the 10th and 17th. I
We
think it was
approved
based
it,
on
didn't
rain
we?
date. No,
It says not approved yet.
Oh, okay.
They just brought the paperwork in
Okay.
last week.
Yeah, but would you mind checking with Carol and just,
No, not at all.
thank
So
you.
maybe they could do it the 17th.
So just look into that, see how much
Yeah.
activity is involved, if that's gonna be an issue.
Well, I think it probably would be for the, because people are driving
Yeah.
cars around, there's people with
Mhm.
signs and everything else.
I'm not familiar with how big that is, that
It's the
event, but
first-
we'll
It's the
look
first year.
time,
Okay,
so-
yeah.
You know, if you're gonna bring out the election thugs too, it's just a bad show.
Yeah, okay, anything else? We're at topics not reasonably anticipated by the chairman 48 hours in advance of the meeting, and I have none. Does anybody have anything? No? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Any discussion, all those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed,
Aye.
5-0. Thank you.